In three, two, one. Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What's going on, good people? How are you guys doing from wherever in the world you are watching this, whatever time you're watching this? Welcome back to another episode of the Conflict Management Show. We are an MMA show podcast where we break down the news, the fights, and the highlights going on in our sport. And we got a big one. We had two big things going on: UFC 313 and new pound for pound rankings. So I think almost forgot to introduce ourselves. How could we do that? You gotta know, gotta do that, gotta do the introductions. And without further ado, I am your boy, your co-host, one of your co-hosts, the man, the myth, the legend, the awkward, awesome one, Mr. Half Man, Half Amazing, Mr. Main Event. Talk to me nice, only nice things. Hey, Malik Miles, we out here. And my co-host,
the future Hall of Famer, one namer, the oracle of UFC business decisions. And eventually I will say that correctly, but not in this hour. It's Edon, and we are back again. This time, we gave you the preview of UFC 313. We're back now for the review of UFC 313.
man, what a card. What a card. And then also, I think that because I think so many people were trying to like watch the card that like ESPN just kind of put it out for free. And I was just kind of like, yeah, man, let's start off at the bottom and work our way up. You know, Mauricio Rufy, the five nerds, you know, the team, the Brazilian super team, the surging super team out of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Let's talk about it. Like, what was your thoughts on the fight?
So, I think going into this, we both had this one nailed on correct. Uh, all respect to King Green and all the things he's done in the UFC, but this is the nature of the beast, and we knew what the result was going to be. We just had no idea how spectacular the method was going to be. So I believe this was the first round, if my memory serves me correctly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
So
2
first
minutes
round,
in, minute and like 30, 40 something seconds.
King Green's out there with the hands low. That doesn't look bad. Like the fight
Not at
wasn't
all.
very long, but as long as it lasted, didn't look that bad. He's going out there with his style, the hands low, the head movement, still looking fast, still looking sharp. And then,
Just got caught.
yeah, Mauricio Rufy hits him with a feint and then follows through with a wheel kick on some like Edson Barbosa stuff and just boom.
Face
And
plant.
then, yeah, like Bobby's so out that he doesn't even like put his arms out to stop him from hitting the ground. Like he's out to the point where he hits the mat and he like slides because that's how little resistance he's like able to put out. Like he hit the mat and then went like
And that kick was so fast. Even watching the replay, I had to watch it twice, 3 times. I had to like watch the knockout, then watch the replay, and then watch them do it again. You know what I mean? Because I was like, because when you saw it happen, it happened so quick, like lightning quick. Where I don't, I think anybody would have been out from that kick. I think you put Mauricio Rufy against any other like lightweight, I think that same exact thing happens. I think that it was just a phenomenal kick. Like that knockout, no, say it with me, phenomenal. Like picanha at a Brazilian barbecue. You know what I mean? At a restaurant, like the pound de queijo. That stuff's amazing. That's dude. Like that was such a. That's probably again. I know we sometimes I think in our sport we get a little too eager on the knockout of the year, fight of the year things. I know it's just March. I know we said that last episode. I feel like sometimes I'll do that. Like when I see those big moments, I'm like, oh man, that was wild. But I feel pretty strongly that this might be a front runner for KO of the year, even though we're only 3 months in to the new
Yeah.
year, because that spinning wheel kick was, whoo! If I could whistle, I would do it.
Yeah, I think if it ends up being something else for knockout of the year, I think
It's
it
gotta be
will
phenomenal.
be it'll have to be something tied into a moment in the way that uh the Holloway Gaethje knockout ended up being knockout of the year, where it's not that there was a single technique from Max Holloway where you go, wow, that's incredible technical stuff right there. I mean, it was, but more so, it was the crowning of that moment and how important that was on UFC 300 and the manner and the style in which it happened. It's going to take something like that where both sides have to create this moment that ends up in a knockout, because you're not going to see something better technically than that. There's
Yeah.
just no way. The setup, the follow through, the execution, and then like no follow up shots, nothing dirty, like just clean martial arts, chop down the tree with one slice.
Yeah, like I think if we get that rematch of Gaethje Dan Hooker, I think that has the potential. A Cyril Gahn versus Tom Aspinall, that has the chance for that. Whether they do it in the O2 or they do it in a core arena or whether they do it at Madison Square Garden, I think that has the potential for that. I think that when and if they do the Valentina versus Wei Lee fight, that has the moment to do that. Kayla Harrison versus Juliana Pena. A lot of things potentially coming up has that chance for it. But circling back to the fighting nerds, right? That makes it what, 18-0 for the fighting nerds between
Well,
Mauricio
it depends on
Rufy.
how you count, because technically there is one other fighting nerd who has a couple losses in the UFC. She's technically a part of their gym, but like the main people that we all think about when you say the fighting nerds,
Mhm.
it's those guys are like 19-0 collectively.
Yeah, like Carlos Prates, Gene Silva, Mauricio Rufy, Kyle Bahayo. Yo, fun fact, actually, you know what? All these dudes, like I said, surging Brazilian super team out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, got all the S's. And it's just that this team is, I feel like, a team like no other, right? This is like, they're an anomaly in our sport just because, one, they got the striking, the they got everything, striking, grappling, jiu-jitsu, they got the footwork, they got the fight IQ, they're good on the microphone, they got the charisma, they're very likable, like they're cool dudes, like they cross every box of, if you want to be a, like, of star quality, star potential, you know what I mean, where there's fighters, we've seen fighters who are good fighters, maybe even great fighters, who just can't talk on the mic, you know what I mean, like that, or they're, when it comes to charisma, they're a soft taco, generic and bland. You know what I mean? But these guys, not them.
We should also specify soft taco with the flour tortilla, like not even
Exactly.
the corn. They got
See,
the bleached
we
flour.
right here.
Yeah,
We're right here with it. Yes, exactly. The tortilla, that like that very like lowers, that Taco Bell soft
yeah.
taco. You know what I mean?
With the cheddar cheese too, not even like the
Ex-
correct cheese. They got the cheddar.
Yeah, exactly. We on the same wavelength, my friend. And but not them, not the fighting
Yeah.
nerds. Yo, again, because Gene Silva stole the show at the 314 press conference, coming out with the globe and everything, and the came out with a with the and it had the crowd barking back. Oh man, to be able to command the room like that, the charisma, the likability, the charisma was through the roof, right? I like the times I've seen Gene Silva in the cage or seen him talk has been great. Mauricio Rufy, times we've seen him in the cage, seen him talk, great. Caio Bahaio, seen him the times we've seen him in the cage, seen the times we've seen him talk, great. Carlos Prates, the times we've seen him in the cage, times we've seen him talk, great. Like some people who can talk that talk, but then they can't walk that walk. You know what I mean? Like we were saying, if some dudes who are great, some dudes are great fighters, but they got the personality. If their personality was a spice, it'd be flour. And some dudes got that tahini personality, but they fight like a durian smoothie. And like not these guys. Nah, this is like we talking about uh like fine dining right here. You know, we're talking about like that creme de la creme. Like they have the potential. Like they have it all. They have the build part, right? The charisma to build the fight or sell a fight, but they also have the fight skills to back it up. And they're in an exciting kind of style. And I think that they have the potential to be like, if I'm not mistaken, the first gym to really lock up 4 back-to-back divisions. Because you got Caio Bahaio at middleweight, like we've said before, like I've said before, I say he becomes middleweight champion. I think it's a win, not an if. And then you got Carlos Prates at welterweight. I think he could very well be a champion based on the performance he's had so far. He's got all the potential in the world to definitely do it. Boom, that's 170. That's the next weight class down. You go another weight class down, that's lightweight. And Mauricio Rufy, another very real possibility to become a champion. I could see it. I could see all of them being champions, right? You have him take that. And then the next weight down, you have Gene Silva at featherweight.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be on top of no team ever having almost a whole stable of people who are undefeated. You'd have 4 champions at one time simultaneously at a lock through 4 of the 12 divisions, which has never happened. They are making stuff happen. They are making history happen, and the marketing of the Fighting Nerds has been phenomenal. Right, the glasses with the tape. You got fighters or other fighters are showing up wearing the glasses. The commentators are wearing the glasses. Like fans are wearing the glasses. Like it's a thing. Like they've really like adopted and made it their own. And like the fans are really rocking with. That's how you know when you're over with the fans, is when the fans are like on board and they want to be a part of it. They're just like, man, I got the glasses and everything. But man, it's just they are on a roll. Like, what is the likelihood that you think that we see a 4 division lock for the Fighting Nerds? Or do you feel the same? Do you think it could be a 4 division lock? What is your thoughts on it? Who do you think can make it? Do you think we see it? Buy, sell?
I mean, 4 divisions is tough. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like getting all 4, because even if you're super talented, like getting the right things and the dominoes to line up just perfectly, and like the injuries and time off and guys getting rematches if they hold the belt for a while and then they lose it, and location, like where's the UFC gonna be and do you sell in that market and all that stuff. It's tough to get lined up like that. I think definitely they all have the potential to be champion. I just don't know if ultimately they're all going to make it in that way. Like, I think probably the 2 I think are most likely are Ohio and Prates. Because I think the path at the heavier weight classes is a little bit clearer and easier to kind of get your chance if you're a young up and comer. Whereas for Silva and Rufy, 45 and 55 are stacked deep all the time. And they're
That
also
is very true.
the divisions who have the most fighters in the UFC. So and there's constantly adding more and more to those weight classes because that's where most people end up weighing out when you add in weight cutting. Most people are about that size. So it's the toughest road for those guys, but they haven't hit a wall yet where you go, okay, they definitely can't. Like they're both still showing potential where you go, maybe they could. They both have great instincts for finishing. They're in a great camp. They're both really sound technically. Everywhere you want to go, they can meet you there. There's no deficiency. They're both powerful for their weight class. There's no part where you go, oh, he definitely can. I would say probably toughest path would be Silva because I think he fights more explosive, and I don't know how that translates to a 5-round fight. I think the other guys kind of fight more measured and less chaotic like that. But I mean, that being said, in Silva's last fight, up until the big explosion that won him the fight, the commentators were criticizing him for a lack of action, how he was taking it easy and wasn't wasn't giving a whole bunch of output. So it's tough for me to say, oh, he definitely couldn't. When I've been much more confident in watching Dricus rise. I definitely saw deficiencies in his game where I thought, there's no way this guy can be champion. Look how sloppy he is at the end of the third round. Look how close Darren Till is to beating him. Look how much trouble he's in these fights. And then by the time he got to the belt and he actually
And
won
fix
it,
his nose.
yeah, well, he fixed his nose. And then who knows how much that was it and how much was him just getting better and how much was just that's his aesthetic and how he looks, to the point where he gets the belt and now it's hard to see somebody else beating him. If he passes the Chimaev test, it's tough for me to say, okay, well, who's going to be next? It would have to be someone like Kaio or someone coming from outside the division to come in and challenge him. That's how quickly he's managed to make the impression that he's really hard to beat.
I'm calling it right now. I said Kyle beats. If Dricus still has the belt when Kyle fights him, I say Kyle beats him in spectacular fashion.
Here's the thing, I could see that, but I've also been saying that before Dricus got to I remember the Whitaker fight. I said, Whitaker too much for Dricus, and then
we both said it.
Yeah, and then Dricus had the step up, and you go, well, okay, but he's Sean just beat Izzy, so he can't beat Sean, and then did, and you go, okay, well, you can't beat Izzy because he's gonna show you levels, and then he didn't. He beat Izzy. He finished him. So I'm just with Dricus. I'm like, I don't know what you're capable of. Clearly, I was wrong all these other times. I don't know what your power level is. I don't have the reader on my
Yeah,
eye.
the little the reader started jamming up. It started lagging. What you try to read the power level and it started jamming up. You're like, trying to make it work like one of those old 90s TVs with the backs of them. You got to hit the side to make it work. Just being like, come on now, don't do this to me. I've picked against Dricus in every fight so far, right? Dricus is obviously great, right? There's no doubt about it, right? His style looks like melting ice cream. But it's still ice cream. Melted ice cream, while it doesn't aesthetically look nice, it's still ice cream. And ice cream is still gonna be ice cream, and it's great. Ice cream is phenomenal. Ice cream is like a top tier dessert. When it's in its perfect form, top tier, right? Even melted or melting, it's still ice cream. It's still really dope, right? And I feel like that's Dricus' style. It looks like melted ice cream or melting ice cream, where you're like, and then you see it on display, and you're like, hey, results don't lie. However, and I give him props because he's literally Every time people say he can't do something, he's just like, "Well, I'll show you," and puts on like the best performance of his career, right? Uh, for Kyle, I've been saying this for a minute. I've been saying it for a while. Mystic Malik. I be knowing how to pick champions. Obviously, not when it comes to Drakus, because I keep on picking the wrong person. However, there's a lot of other cases where I have picked right. Uh, Juliana Pena, Alexa Grasso, Lyoto Machida, like Connor during the original Rise, right? Like Izzy, Alex, Leon, Bilal, all those guys, right? But I really do feel that, yeah, I just feel it's a gut feeling. The striking, it's very calculated. I'm telling you, it's a gut feeling. It's the Mystic Malik pick. I'm telling you, Kyle Bahayo beats Drickus by finish. I think it makes it happen. I think he beats him in spectacular fashion. Even if he doesn't get the finish, I think it's going to be like a spectacular decision or a spectacular finish. I'm telling you right now, Kyle Bahayo champion in 2025. If not 2025, early 26.
Okay, well, while we're discussing prospects, I did want to shout out one of the prelim fights because we did talk about it a little bit. Joshua Van Ray Saruya.
Dude, what? I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. I thought Ray Saruya was going to win that fight, and because I didn't know too much about Joshua Ben. I've seen him fight before a few times. I was like, oh, this dude's good. It's really good. But I didn't know he was that good. You know what I mean? Like he really was putting on like a performance, right? Because I think that like I said it before, I thought his wrestling, I thought his jiu-jitsu would take over. One, I will give Ray Saruya props on this. Yo, the cardio for Saruya was insane. He went for like 22 takedowns and was not tired. That's how you know that cardio is very much put together, right? That inside kind of like judo trip, arm drag, kind of like hiya. And he pulled that. I was like, man, slick, very nice. That wrestling looked great, right? I wish he would have mixed in more of his like striking with his grappling to like set up the threat of the takedown, get some strikes going, get some jabs going, get some work going through the center. You know what I mean? Like work into the takedowns. You know what I mean? Because he did take him down like one step, but Joshua Van just kept getting up, I think this would be a good moment for Saruya as far as a growing moment and being like, hey, this is how the top, where if you want to make it in the upper echelon, this is what it's going to take. Like, you know what I mean? I think that you learn more from a loss than you do a win sometimes. And I think this is one of those moments where he kind of treated it like one of those state wrestling tournaments where you're going. And he just kept on going for the takedown, kept going for that Marab style wrestling. But I think next time I would really like to see him mix up the striking with the grappling, because I feel like for the most part, just wrestling. Joshua Van, on the other hand, man, if I could whistle, I would right now. But dude, did he put on a performance? Like, I knew of him, and I knew he could fight, and I knew he could throw down, and I was going for the Saruya. But I became a fan of Joshua Van's watching that fight, and I was going for Saruya, and I was like, man, this Joshua Van, like, stuffing all the takedowns, getting the strikes in, like, on the feet. Joshua Van looked a lot better, right? Like the boxing was nice, getting the strikes in, stuffing the takedowns, and then even when he got put on the ground, just having the grit, I guess you could say, the toughness to just be like, hey, no, take me down. You're not gonna hold me down. Boom, I'm gonna get right back up, and I'm gonna anytime we have to break, I'm gonna just crack you with these punches, crack you with an uppercut, crack you with this, boom. And those moments where you can kind of see, I think that like it's hard for any grappler, wrestler. Like if you're taking a dude down and you're trying your best, and as soon as you work super hard and you finally take someone down and they just go and get back up. Ah, man, ain't nothing more heartbreaking than that. You just like, man, I did all this work and you just get back up. Nah, man, he was really just working those, like, his strikes. He was very good on the feet, handled the takedown defense lovely, and really put on a really good performance. Like, I became a fan of Joshua Van in that fight. And I was like, man, I'm looking forward to see what he does next as he continues to move forward.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you're Saruya, you're 22 years old. It's take some time, figure out like the grappling is obviously very good. Um, I don't think this is a moment where you doubt your grappling. I think the reason the grappling didn't work is because there wasn't sufficient enough threat with the hands. It's the punches and the kicks weren't making Van worried enough about that in order to raise his guard so that you could have access to a single, to get to the hips, to surprise him, to catch him off balance. So there wasn't enough of the mix, like you're saying, to get a surprise on Josh Van, where you could say, "Oh, I'm gonna show you this, so you got to worry about this." There wasn't enough worry in the striking for him to be able to then use that to wrestle, because you need your entries. You need different setups and different things for different distractions and different ways to get to your spots. And Surya didn't have enough of those, but for Van's side, I think for sure 23 years old, it's you just stuffed like almost all the takedowns. It's Surya went 4 for 24, I think, or something like that. It's
Yeah,
so you've shown that you could deal with high level grapplers already at 23. You've shown the striking and the cardio for sure to be able to weather that storm and keep your hands going and always being responsible about where you're positioned and being able to get right back up. That's the skill set at flyweight that you need in order to be a top level guy. And to me, as much as Surya can still get there, he has an evolution to go before I would say he's a prospect to be a champion. Whereas you look at uh, the top of the division, to me, the prospects of tomorrow are Tatsuro Taira, and now Josh Van has put himself in that conversation for me. He still has to
absolutely.
match up with like a striker, and I want to see how that kind of looks before I could
That'd be a
say,
fun fight.
yeah, before I could say, oh, okay, definitely championship level material. But right now in my mind, when I think who's the future of 125, in my mind,
Tatsuro
still,
Tara,
yeah, still
obviously.
number one, Tyra, but Joshua Van's on that rise, and he's got that.
Oh,
I don't know,
absolutely.
but
Okay.
anyway, future looking bright for Josh Van, and I forget what my original point is, but that basically sums it up. Future's bright for him. We're going to be checking up on him. Uh, Definitely is going to be a top 15 ranked guy. Hopefully, like don't like looking promising. Don't rush it too fast. Like take your time a little bit. Take on, slowly kind of build yourself. You don't want to rush yourself to the top, because once you get up there, you're just going to be fighting killers, and there's not really time to grow and learn once you're in the top 10. So if you're Josh Van, like take it easy, take some fights, get get some of these guys, get like towards the back end of the rankings maybe, but slow your roll a little bit. You beat another guy who is 22. Get some get some experience versus some vets. You put them away, you put on a show, more people know about you. Like don't be in a rush to head straight to the top. It's going to be a slow build is a better build, It's everybody when he came into the UFC was talking about Raul Rosas Jr., but he's taking his time right now. I can't remember when the last here. Let me look up.
I
Uh,
think UFC 300.
Yeah, he fought in September. Okay, he hasn't fought. He's gonna fight at the end of this month against a guy who's 16-9. So just like take it easy, slow your roll. I know you're a little bit older than Raul Rosas. Raul Rosas is still only 20 years old, but like chill out. No rush to get to the top. It's your MMA prime is still in front of you. You want to build all your skills, then get to the belt and hold it as long as you can. It's you don't want to be rubber banding around, you know. So, but exciting for him, and I still super positive about Saruya and his future at 22 to be able to shoot, 20 plus takedowns in a 15-minute fight and not be gassed out and still be able to go with a guy who's like punishing you with his fists and you go all the way through the fight, you don't slow down at all. It's and to not get disheartened either. Like absolutely he'll be back. He just needs some time to work on his skills and become a full mature MMA fighter, not just a grappler who can strike sometimes.
Yeah, and I will say that I agree. And then for Joshua Van, I said again potential to really take it far, and I'd like to see kind of how his career progresses because that fight was a great performance from him, right? And I'm looking forward to seeing more great fights from him. And I think I enjoyed getting to learn more about like him and his story through that interview he did with Ariel Helwani. So I enjoyed getting because once a fighter shows up on my radar when I'm looking into like fighters on the rise, I think it helps to get your story across. I enjoyed listening to his story and hearing where he come from because I think it helps you build that connection with that fighter. Then like when you get to hear about their journey, and then because it makes that like when they make it to the top, that moment, that full circle moment, all the better. Being like, man, this is where he was like a few years ago. He or she was a couple years ago when they were still grinding through, like trying to make it, and now they have that Cody Rhodes finishing the story kind of moment and either winning the belt or having this like phenomenal career moment, right? And like speaking of people who had like phenomenal careers, watching the card, Ruthless Bobby Lawler had his induction into the Hall of Fame, and they put together a very nice video package for him. Man, one of the legends of the sports, one of the greats, right? Where everyone says, when we talk about Justin Gaethje, you say your favorite fighter's favorite fighter, right? The human highlight reel. Well, Robbie Lawler was your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. He was the human highlight reel. He was Justin Gaethje before Justin Gaethje was Justin Gaethje. You know what I mean? I think that we don't have a Justin Gaethje if it was not for the legend that is Robbie Lawler. Like when you think what a career that spanned over like 2 decades, former welterweight champion who's been in some wars, you know, like I think like his UFC debut or pro debut was what back in like 2002. And when you think about all the people, like just some of the fights that stick out to me personally, right? The Roy McDonald fight, that was a crazy fight. And I feel like that's a fight most fight fans bring up because watching that fight was insane, right? Then there's the Carlos Condit fight. And then another, like, I think for me, that third one, the third most memorable one is the final fight with Nico Price when he got the KO win. Because I think that when you are a fan of a fighter and they get to the end of their road, right, where they're like, oh man, this is my retirement fight, you want to see your favorites, you want to see the fan favorites, you want to see your favorites kind of like be able to like ride off into the sunset after like a Hall of Fame career. And to see him get that KO win over Nico Price, I was kind of like, ah, man, I'm so happy he got a happy ending to his story. It's such a like an epic career to be able to go out on top and kind of like ride off into the sunset. It's one of the feel good stories in our sport, which we don't get many of, but
Mm.
it makes you just so happy when someone so dope does get that. Like when you get a fan favorite who does get that kind of like that feel good happy story at the end, you know what I mean? After such an amazing career. And the video package was great.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, it's Robbie's been around so long that the the wealth of clips that you have to choose from, and to be a guy who was young in the UFC originally, leaves the UFC, goes around to different promotions of the time, and then comes back
Becomes
to the
Elite
UFC.
FC champion.
Yeah, it's he had some Rumble on the Rock fights. Like he went away in the time and went and had some high level competition, grows from it, comes back to the UFC, and then goes on to become not only a champion, but a fan favorite who kind of is really important to be representative of a champion that fans always want to see, especially in an era like now where people are saying that there's not that many champions who are worth the pay-per-view ticket. Robbie Lawler always gave you your
Star
money's worth and
power.
more.
Mm-hmm.
It's he showed up and he gave you everything he had. It's and probably more than he should have on quite a few occasions. You know, it's busted up like mask of blood, just walking through it. It never stopping, never quit, never settle. It's Robbie went for it every second that he was there, and it's I like it when we have these moments in the sport where we get to remember some of the past, because I feel like sometimes we roll on through what's the present and what's the future so quickly, and we just forget about people and let them go without really much. But like you said, that was a good one, and definitely a highlight of this card. Because how are you feeling overall about this card? Because to me, I know the main event, which we'll get to, was a disappointment. But this one for me, like it was all over the place in terms of some of the best stuff you're gonna see and some of the worst stuff you're gonna see, like sandwiched really close together to where you just go, like, this is very representative of what the MMA experience is, but also not what you want to show somebody if you're like, hey, come over and watch the pay-per-view with me. This wasn't the one to show them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like if you're gonna show someone an MMA, like so, if you're gonna invite people over to watch the fights with you, let's say you're inviting friends over, let's say you're watching it with your girl for the first time, you know what I mean? Like it's like your girl's about to is like you're trying to get her to watch it with you, right? And you're showing her it for the first time, right? Or your friends, maybe your friends who may not be into combat sports for the first time, or you getting friends and or family together, right? I think if you're gonna get someone who hasn't seen it before into MMA, into the UFC, I feel like you gotta. I feel like the card you got to do it on is like a UFC Noche, because like the last two UFC Noche cards were great. You got to do it on a Madison Square Garden card. Usually the UFC Miami cards are like like really good. I think that like the top four cards usually I feel like as this kind of like safe choices of like they're gonna be an amazing card. Like nine, there's like I feel like a 9 out of 10 chances it's gonna be an amazing card is the UFC Noche cards because those since its inception have been my favorite cards of the year. You know what I mean? The first UFC Noche, we've talked about it a lot. I was a big fan of it. The second UFC Noche, oh man, that was my fight card of the year. At the Sphere, what? The cinematics, what? The fights, what? As a martial artist and a creative, oh, that was like both my worlds, like having the high five, having the Goku and Vegeta like Potara dance turning into Vegito. You know what I mean? Like having that like boom. Here's Goku. Here's Vegeta. Now we're Gogeta. You know what I mean? That's how it felt like. I was just like, Madison Square Garden's always going to be a good card. Usually UFC Miami. The UK cards are usually really fun, and like the Paris cards. I feel like those are generally gonna be like, oh man, this is gonna be a fun time. I feel like generally it could be a toss up here and there, like elsewhere. You know what I mean? Like it could be really good, could be this mixed bag. I think that the high points of this card was definitely the roofie thing, Bahamundes. Actually, before I get to Bahamundes, really quick side note for Mauricio Rufy, right?
Mm.
Fun fact: did you know Rufy is not his last name?
It's not?
No, it is actually just kind of like how when I do the intros and I say Mr. Main Event and it being like a reference to like Main Event Jey Uso, Mauricio Rufy is another reference, another like tip of the hat to a well beloved Japanese series of anime. Do you know what One Piece?
Yeah, that's the pirate guy with, and he's all like stretchy.
Yeah. So his name, the main character's name is Monkey D. Luffy, and his name is Mauricio Rufy. He was saying that like Mauricio Rufy was saying that like the last name he has down as his like last name is a nod to Monkey D. Luffy, the protagonist, the main hero of One Piece, because he was saying he's a big anime fan as well as your boy. And he was saying that it is a nickname that was given to him. And when they asked him what his favorite character was, he was is Monkey D. Luffy. It is Luffy. And that's why his name is Mauricio Rufy. Like he has his nickname is his last something else, but he goes by Mauricio Rufy. And you know the stand, remember when they was doing when they were calling the weights and they were like, and in this corner, da 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 da, Mauricio Rufy. You know the little fist into the ground, the little stance he was doing.
Mm.
That is actually a really popular stance slash scene from that Luffy does in One Piece, Gear 5, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it was a popular moment from that series. So he literally took a scene out of One Piece, and I thought that was like, as a big anime fan, I was like, that is so dope. I was a fan of it. I was like, oh man, that's so cool. I was like, hey bro, we got another anime fan out here. So yeah, I thought that was a fun fact, a fun little tidbit, because prior to him saying that, I saw it and I was like, oh, Rufy is close to Luffy. Like, that's cool. And that's how I remembered him at first, before I saw, like, after his, like, first time seeing him fight. Like, how I remembered him is connecting his last name to the main character, Luffy, from One Piece. And to know that connection was an actual connection, oh man, it's like when you figure out Fire Force was the prequel to Soul Eater. You're like, it's like the meme where the guy's just like mind blowing. You're just like, wow, that's how it felt. I was like, oh man, the connection points. But I thought that was pretty cool. Uh,
Okay.
Bahamundes. Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
before
Was
we
you
get
about
to
to say
that,
something?
I want to go in order because this was my like Debbie Downer moment of the card. This 15 minutes. Amanda Lemos, Yasmin Lucindo. This is one of the worst fights I've ever seen in my life. Uh, So Lemos threw 42 strikes or attempted 42 strikes. Lucindo attempted 56 strikes. Uh, as far as significant strikes on the count, Lemos landed 12. Lucindo landed 4. Like this was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. Like I know
Worse, worse
we're-
than the what was it? Was it Esparza, Carlos Esparza versus Rose, or like Derek Lewis versus Francis?
I mean,
Was it worse than one of those two fights? I didn't get the chance to see it.
I don't know. It might be because
Or would you say it takes the third spot?
I would have to I'm never going to do this to myself, but I would literally have to go back and watch those other two fights to see because I mean, this fight so Lemos had the advantage on the ground, clearly. And Lucindo, for whatever reason, just would not let her hands go. And so there was a ton of time of just like standing around, taking pictures, like not throwing, just like really boring stuff. And then eventually a grappling sequence would happen and Lemos would get the better. And I don't remember if we talked about it in the build-up, but this was kind of an important fight
It
because
was.
Lemos was ranked number 5, Lucindo was ranked number 7. If you could make a statement, depending on what happens with Valentina and Manon, you could be making an argument for yourself to go fight Wei Li. Instead, we're sitting here going, "Oh yeah, for sure." Like my takeaway from how bad this fight was is, okay, for sure, if Valentina wins her fight, we're gonna see her versus Wei Li.
That's the fight everyone wants to see. That's the
Well, I
fight
mean
I want to see. I feel
that's
like
the
that's the
fight
fight most
everyone
people want to see.
wants to see. But also, this fight was so bad between two top 10 fighters in that division. How are you supposed to build any buzz? Between it's because the only other person you could call up would be Virna, and it's she doesn't fight until April 12th. She fights Yan Xiaonan. But by that time, we might have moved past it, and there's no other one. So let's say she even has that performance where you go, oh, I want to see her fight Wei Li. If she's injured in the fight or whatever, then we might lose that fight also. So there's just not a lot of options now if you're Wei Li. It's you either have Valentina or if Virna wins, because no one's going to want to see a Yan Xiaonan rematch with the way that first one went. I don't think it would take something extraordinary. So now if you're the UFC and you're trying to like promote Wei Li, now you really only have two options, and one of the options isn't even really the Yan Xiaonan Virna fight isn't even really an option because if there's no big moment for you to promote or some sort of organic interest in one of those two winning the fight, then you only have one option. So it's a really tough deal to have a fight that's that bad on the main card. Like that was terrible. And then B, if you're the UFC and you feel like you're running out of options at strawweight, and a lot of them don't promote themselves anyway, whether they don't speak English or they just don't really get involved in self promotion like that. So it's getting tough right now if you're the UFC at strawweight. So I think that's a cause for concern for me.
I feel that for me, again, I really want to see. I like personally, I don't want to see Wei Li fight another anyone other than Valentina. That's the main fight I want to see. I feel like the Valentina versus Wei Li to see who's the number one who's a true number one pound for pound best women's fighter in the UFC, because you would have the actual number one pound for pound female fighter in the world, Valentina Shevchenko, versus the number two pound for pound, Wei Li. The That would be exciting, because I feel that maybe a Wei Li, while like if a Wei Li Yao Shannon fight happened, would I watch it? Yeah. Would I be like super jazzed about it? Not necessarily. And I think the same for any other really matchup right now. For Valentina, she beats Manon. Only other fight I would want to see Valentina take on outside of Wei Li is Alexa Grasso, and it's and that, as a fan of hers, yes, it says she not if but when she wins against Natalia Silva. Sorry, sorry, not sorry. When like say she beats her, right, and they give her another crack at the belt for the rubber match. That's the only other fight I would want to see Valentina take outside of Wei Li. And I think that's the biggest fight in women's MMA to make right now. Is that fight to see who's pound for pound. You know what I mean? As far as the fight, yeah, that's unfortunate that it was kind of like really exciting fight, kind of it sounds like very like wallpaper drawing, paint drying type situation, back to exciting, and then kind of mellowed out towards the end. I would say Bahamundes, I did call it. I said he was going to finish. I thought he was going to finish by strikes. He finished it by TK, by submission. That triangle was crazy work, especially when he got it, and then he had the wherewithal to to hook the leg to make sure he couldn't get out, and now you just stuck in a triangle. Slick move. Slick move. That's 3 highlight finishes in a row.
I'll be honest, like I wasn't feeling it that much.
Really?
Yeah. Like here's the thing. When we did the preview, I picked Turner because I said I'm gonna keep rocking with the talent. I've seen the talent before. I just think either the weight cut has got to him or he's got something going on mentally. He retired after this fight, but in his retirement statement, it seemed like he left the door open to maybe coming back in the future. I just think he's got something going on because to me, the Jalen Turner that everybody got excited about that was on the rise doesn't end up in that triangle. It was well executed in the end, but that was not like a slick setup in my opinion. It's Jalen Turner violated the basic rules of engaging with a ground opponent who's trying to get a triangle on you. Like we all know, you got to be all the way in or all the way out. It's you can't hang out in the middle and have like your arm in and then you like it's both arms like plunging all the way through, like splitting the guard, or you're stepping all the way back out and you're gonna bring him up to his feet. Instead, like Turner just hangs out in the middle in a total rookie move and lets himself get triangled, which, like you said, the end deal to like cinch it up once he had it. Okay, that's slick. That's good technique. Good stuff. But I think there's something going on either with the weight cut or mentally or both with Jalen Turner, and that's why he retired. And that's why I think even before he retired, I think the performance was just not good. That's not a veteran savvy performance from Jalen Turner. So I still give Bahamondes credit because you got to show up and do it. Uh, he's still one of the weirdest matchups that you can get in that division because of how big and like lanky he is for the weight class. But Did I see something where I go, "Oh, this guy can be a champ"? Not really, in my opinion. I think the top guys all defend that pretty easily, and I I think Bahamondes is a good fighter. I think he's more of a brawler and a warrior. I don't quite see him as champion level, in my opinion, yet.
Warrior! Woo! Warrior! And I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head on that one. 300 UFC 300. I think Bahamondes has a chance to be in the top five. I think he is a warrior. I think he is a warrior, and he has shown so on three different occasions. UFC 300, the finish at 300, the wheel kick of Rowe, now the triangle submission of Turner, cinched it up, blop blop blop. He's hitting them with he's mixing it up. He's got variety. So I
Okay,
do think
but at
I would like
155, I have questions. Okay, so
say
who does
again.
he? I have questions. So he's at 155. He's now ranked number 15 after uh, this past weekend. I have a hard time finding a guy who I'd say, oh, he beats him. So, like,
Read me the top 15.
okay, do you think that in his current state he could beat Islam Makhachev? Oh, come
I
on,
think
dude.
it's too early to
Come on.
fight, huh?
If he had it scheduled for the next time Islam fights, if he drew right into title contention, do you think he
I
beats
think
Islam
it's
right now?
too early for him to fight Islam right
Okay,
now,
but if
right?
he
Like
did, do you think he would beat him?
at where he is right now.
Yes, where he is right now. You're too
I
high on
think
this
that,
guy. Come
huh?
on now. You're too high on this guy. This is
I'm
ridiculous. You're
just
even
thinking.
thinking about
I mean, it
this.
is also 1 a.m. in the morning. I'm trying to process.
I know, but come on, man.
I think that it's too early for him. I think it's too early for him to fight the champion, right? And I know I give Islam a hard time, but like I think it is like a very like 70-30 Islam type fight. But read
Okay,
me the
well,
rest of the
we'll just
names in
yeah, we'll
15.
go down the top 15. You hit me with a yes no. How about that?
Okay, read me the names. Read
Okay.
me the names.
Arman Sarukian,
Just keep on going. Just
Charles
like
Oliveira,
read me the names and then I'll like think about it. Read me the names.
Arman Sarukian, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway, Dan Hooker, Michael Chandler, Mateusz Gamrot, Beneil Dariush, Hanato Moicano, Rafael Fiziev, Paddy Pimblett, Benoit Saint-Denis, Grant Dawson, Ignacio Bahamondes.
That is a stacked division. I think I'm hey, I'm a big proponent of finding guys on the way up. I feel like he might be the dark horse of this division. I think he may surprise some people and really kind of put it on some folks. I think that like, hey, I know you said I'm kind of too high on this dude, but I think that like he might be the dark horse of this division when you got a lot of star power, a lot of name power, a lot of name value, right? You got a gamer in Mateus Gamrot, right? You got a legend in the legendary Super Saiyan that is Charles Oliveira. You got Patty, you got Chandler, you got Dan Hooker, you got Gaethje. I mean, some of those fights, I think those would be really interesting fights to really kind of like put him to like how Natalia Silva is getting her, like we're both fans of her. But like this is her biggest test ever against the queen herself, Alexa Grasso. Um, and it's really like, hey, if you can beat her, sky's the limit. You know what I mean? But I think Alexa Grasso wins. I'm exposing that's my own bias. I will anytime she's in a fight, I'm always picking Alexa Grasso. You will never not pick her. Even if she was going against Kelly Harrison, I still say Alexa Grasso by finish. That's just me. Even if it's a decision, right? But I will say, I do think it may sound crazy right now, but I really do think he might be. I hope I'm using the word correct. Who could who could really kind of like bloop 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 bloop, like one step, two step his way, little one step, two step his way into the top 10, then the top 5. You know what I mean? I think he's definitely a top 5 fighter. I think he could definitely get there and mix it up with them, and I think he could, one step, two step, moving and grooving, and find his way into a title shot eventually. That's just me. This is what I say. This is what I think. You know, I know you said I may be too high on this fighter, but that's my gut feeling. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that when we look at his fights, you look at what he's done, my gut instinct says top 5 fighter, potentially one step, two step, moving and grooving his way, dark horse his way into like moving and grooving, maybe the right opportunity, someone gets hurt here, he wins here, gets this thing here, to a chance at the title. That's what I say. I think he's definitely a top 5 guy. I think you put him in the top 5. I think it makes it interesting, makes it fun for a lot of people. So give me that top 5 one more time.
Okay, so Islam, Arman Sarukian, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway.
Dustin Poirier is about to retire.
Okay,
Like,
so I can
so
go to
I
number
mean,
6,
like,
Dan Hooker.
yeah, and then Max, yeah, Max is in this right now. Yeah, tell me that like a Baja Mundez versus Dan Hooker would be fun. That'd be exciting based on like his last like 4 fights. A
I'm
fight
not
with
saying he's
Holloway.
boring.
Holloway's my favorite fighter ever. You know what I mean? But like that would be a fun, exciting fight. Bahamondes versus Holloway. Bahamondes versus Gaethje would be fun. Bahamondes versus Arman could be fun. And then like I think, dude, match him up. There's a lot of fun fights out there. I think you put him. That kind of proves my point that I think he has the potential to, very real potential, to be a top 5 guy. Potentially one step, two step, moving and grooving his way to a championship.
Nah,
That's just me.
I don't think he's a not fun guy. That's not my point. I
Oh,
just think he's not good enough to be the champ at 55. I think Grant Dawson, who's one ahead of him, I think Grant Dawson beats the brakes off of him. Like,
actually, I'm gonna have to push back. I hard disagree on that. I think Bahamondes beats Grant Dawson. Like, you flip a coin, 5 times. I say Bahamondes gets the coin flip 3 out of 5, maybe even 4 out of 5 times. I think Bahamondes beats Grant Dawson. Like,
nah,
and
American Khabib got him, dude.
I don't know. I'm just telling you,
I don't know.
I think
Look,
it'll be a fun fight. But
there's a bunch of older fighters who are going to work their way out of the division, but I just think between what's currently in the UFC at 155 that's not ranked and what's going to be coming up in the UFC, I think he's not championship level in my opinion. But it's
yeah, that's fair. I feel like
on the
I think he could be a part of the new generation. I think he could be a big part of the new generation of 155ers. Yeah, I think he could be a part. I think he will be a part of this new wave of 55ers. But yeah, we'll see where in a year now, if I was right or not. If I'm right, it's phenomenal. If I'm wrong, hey, I have no problem with saying I was wrong. But if I'm right, which I think I am, we shall see.
okay. The other side of the pancake, Jalen Turner, like hopefully everything's good with him and like
Yeah,
whatever is going on with him, you either get yourself right and come back, or find something else that brings you happiness and joy and makes you feel fulfilled, and pursue that instead. Because clearly he's having some sort of struggles with this right now, and if you're having struggles, the octagon's not the place to be be trying to sort out your mental. So hopefully he can go get right and either come back or enjoy his life, because he's still giving us a lot of fun fights and moments.
And he's a super young dude, 29 years old.
Yeah, still a
The
lot of green grass in front.
And I remember during the fight, Bahamondes afterwards said he talked to Jalen and was like, "Hey," like asking him to like reconsider retiring. That if like he needed anything, he said, "Hey, I got you. If you need a place to stay, when I come train in Chicago, you need a place to stay. I got you." Like, you know what I mean? Like, and which I thought was very kind of him to say, like, "Hey, you ever need anything, let me know." Like, it's too early for you to retire. And I think that like I was personally shocked when I'd be like, oh man, when I heard that the news about him retiring, because I was like, oh man, he's one of the top guys in that division, right? Like I think that like, so I wish him all the best. I hope him all the best. I hope everything works out for the best. If he comes back, I'll be happy to watch him fight again because I think he's a dope fighter. But if he also decides, hey, I want to pursue a new endeavor, I wish him all the success and happiness with that. And hopefully, and like, I hope it goes well.
Yeah, and okay, so I want to get into the fight of the night. Gaethje Fiziev, in my opinion, for sure the fight of the night, and one of those ones where the second I was done watching it, I don't know how you felt, I immediately thought, I really wish this wasn't on short notice.
Yeah, I think, man, can you imagine what this fight would have been like with a full fight camp?
Yeah.
Oh man, and who knew those two would fight each other again to a close decision? Man, they who knew Vaziev was gonna get two takedowns on Gaethje? I don't think anybody had that on their like bingo card to be like. There's a lot of things you could have wrote down. Gaethje by finish, Vaziev by finish. You know what I mean? Like this person with like above X amount of significant strikes or strikes. You know what I mean? There's a lot of mixing it up, leg strikes, body strikes, head strikes. No one had takedown. Takedown's great, by the way. Um, I enjoyed the fight. I thought it was a good fight. We saw Gaethje turn around. I thought he was gonna. I was kind of nervous to like whether he would come back a little gun shy after that like 300 loss. But man, he came back and like really turned back the clock and it was like, nah, bro, I'm still number 3 in the world for a reason. Better recognize and know who I am. And he really did put on a great performance.
Yeah, those uppercuts he hit in the clinch, those were nasty. And
Oh man,
some of the body kicks from Fiziev too were so good. And like
yeah.
you said, the surprise takedowns in the first, like fun fight, really technical fight. Like it's just what you want to see.
If you're a fan of striking, that was the fight. That was a fight for you.
Well, I mean, even the kind of like clinching grappling still, like
Mm-hmm.
the in close where Gaethje was like bringing him down with the one and
Mm-hmm.
hitting him with the two, and like uh some of the knees that Fiziev was getting in the clinch too. Like really good stuff all around on that one. Gaethje gets the nod. I don't think you could complain too much either way. I think
Yeah,
Gaethje definitely did the most damage, so you could see like, okay, well, give it to him on the balance of that. But no shame either way.
yeah, because I feel like when the way it went, if they'd have said when they said Gaethje, I was like, okay, that's fair. Like I was happy for him. And then if they would have said Fiziev, I'd have been like, oh man, that's fair, happy for him. But I'm not gonna lie, the new hairstyle Fiziev had down to the ring, the cornrows, I was like, man, they look pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie, like him, like Fiziev with his new hairstyle, looked pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he did a good job kind of re-announcing himself to the fans and the UFC in general because it'd been like a year and a half since he fought.
Oh, did
And
you know he's moving to featherweight?
so I saw that speculation. I don't know, you never know how real that is until their next fight is announced. But I think
Hmm.
he'd do really well at featherweight.
I think so too, because he says he doesn't. Because Fiziev said that like even though the fight was on 8, 9 days notice, he didn't have a hard time making weight, just because he said he's like he walks around at like 160, so it's really just 5 pounds for him to cut, like 161, 150, 160, and so he said he had to keep on eating stuff because he would just keep losing weight. So I think he has what he could make featherweight easily, and I think there's a lot of exciting fights at featherweight for him. So I think that could be
Ooh.
fun.
I think a really cool one, in my opinion, would be him versus Arnold Allen. I don't know if Arnold Allen has a fight, but no, I don't. Okay, so
Woo!
it's not officially, but him and Arnold Allen. I think that would be a
Yeah,
pretty.
that'd be fun. I'd enjoy that. Read me the rest of the top 15.
Okay, so uh, for whatever reason, they haven't updated it yet because they still have Taporia here on the UFC's official website. So they have Taporia, Volkanovski, Holloway, who isn't a 45er anymore. I'm fairly confident. Diego Lopez, Movsar Ivloev, Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega, Arnold Allen, Josh Emmett, Aljamain Sterling, Lerone Murphy, Giga Chikadze, Yusuf Zalal, Bryce Mitchell, Calvin Cater, Dan Ige.
Oh man, I think there's a lot of fun fights right there.
Yeah, I think, Arnold Allen would be my pick, but like Josh Emmett would be cool.
Dan
Uh,
Ige would be fun. Yusuf
yeah,
Zalal would be fun. Uh,
Calvin Cater,
Calvin Cater
kickboxer
is another
versus
good
boxer.
one. Yeah, I think you match him up with a lot of people. I think you can make some really fun fights, some really
I
good
mean,
fights.
the main one that I was thinking before I remembered that he's already booked is Yair Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Rodriguez and Rafael Fiziev. That'd be a banger,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
especially because there's they're both strikers, but there's two totally different body shapes and styles because of that. Like Yair with the kicks from the outside, well, Fiziev has to like dance his way into the pocket against him and like get inside and see if he could do that because he's definitely kind of smaller for 55, but he might be a little bit beefier for 45. So could he get inside and like crowd Yair against the cage and launch some of his knees that he showed against Gaethje? Like, I'd like to see it. I think it'd be pretty cool, and maybe he could keep working on the wrestling that he showed in the first round because everybody's going to come out super hands up against him because of how quick he can get those legs up. So if he could develop a takedown off the back of that, he'd be real dangerous.
Oh yeah, and then the main event. Talk to me. Let me know. Let me talk to me. Let me know what you thought of it.
All right. So this one, I don't know. I don't want to rewatch it because to me that kind of ruins the point of it. To me, watching it live had a lot of suspense because with Alex, it's one shot could end the night at any time. So there was a lot of suspense for me in that. What the fight kind of ended up being is not that much. So, in terms of how the action played out, Alex did a great job stuffing the takedowns. Ankalaev shot, I think, 12 times. He got 0 takedowns. Alex did great.
Great takedown defense by Alex.
Yes. He did great with the takedown defense. He clearly had been working on it. He had that prepared. Problem being, offensively, Alex wasn't as aggressive as we've seen him. He seemed tentative or gun shy and not the typical Alex we're used to. Is that because he just had a bad night? You know, every now and again, I think you're entitled to have a bad night. Or was it that he was so worried about the takedown that he was second guessing what he should do and he wasn't in a rhythm or a flow to kind of get his hands going? Kind of hard to tell. What it ended up being is lack of action from Alex. So Ankalaev was able to just do enough to win the rounds, basically. So the most definitive rounds were the Ankalaev rounds, including either the second or the fourth, I can't remember which one, where he really hit Alex with a nice punch and had him in trouble for a second. So 2 and 4 were very clearly Ankalaev. 1 and 5, in my opinion, were very clearly Alex. The third round and how you score it determined who you saw as the winner. So ultimately, there's no robbery. You could be upset with the outcome because it's not fan friendly, and Ankalaev is not going to be an entertaining champion or an entertaining fighter. But sometimes the game's the game, and he did enough on the night, just enough, in a very not entertaining fight when you know the result. And yeah, he got it done. So good for him and all, but okay, hold on one sec. So good for him on the night, getting it done, becoming a champion for the first time. But whether you're looking at his fight style in the cage or you're looking at his resume on paper, Ankalaev's not exciting, and he's not going to be. And it just adds to the perception right now in the UFC that boring styles that appeal to judges are taking over the sport.
So I think that obviously I wanted Alex to win, wanted Poatan to win. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just an off night. Sometimes it just happens, right? And some people were like, he didn't look like himself. Yes, normally, or was it the pressure of Ankalaev? But I think that I would like to see this fight redone again, because I know some people was like, oh, he did pressure. Alex is generally not a high pressure, high volume kind of guy, right? In general, it's more of he's very accurate, very calculated about how he goes about his strikes. And when you see, it's just when he does when he does throw the shots, they put people out. He's not a Max Holloway. He's putting out all these shots, right? But he's very smart and very calculated about like which shots he's throwing, strikes he's throwing. I think that he was going for the leg kicks. I think maybe in the next one, now that he knows he has the confidence of like, oh, I can stuff his takedowns wherever. I think he should take kind of like a Joshua Van type strategy and kind of just, hey, I'm gonna just dance with the girl that brought me. You know what I mean? I'm gonna depend on the skills that got me to the big show. And when the takedowns come, because they will, because generally if someone's not good at striking, they're gonna like go for the wrestling. Boom! If you already know you can stop 12 takedowns from this dude, chances are you can defend more. So I feel like Alex doesn't usually open himself up a whole lot for like mistakes. open himself up for damage that like a big blow. But maybe sometimes you go and then once you get them stuck there, or finding someone training wise to improve with and whatnot. I'm excited for Alex to come back and get this rematch because I think that Alex definitely wins the rematch. I say first round KO because he's gonna feel like he has something to prove. Peloton all day. But Ankalaev did look better than I expected. And I thought he did a good job. I think it was close fight. I don't think it was a robbery either. I think it's okay to be mad that like your person or to be upset that your person didn't win, but like when you think about it, there's really no case for a robbery. You know what I mean? It was just a close fight where like one round was the judge's like swing round, right? I think that Ankalaev definitely didn't win any fans over in that fight. He didn't win any new fans from that fight, right? That's our time. That's our show. Late night show. Making it happen. Hope you got a good time listening. We had a good time recording.